What's the one thing you would tell 20 and 30 somethings about aging?
Do everything now in moderation. Hearing something and listening to it are two different things.
Yes, they
And everyone who you party with is not your friend.
You've seen a lot.
Ooh, yes.
Ever wish you could go back in time and sit down with one of your elders and ask them every question you ever wanted to ask? Well, I got the opportunity to do that when I sat down with my 83-year-old bestie and 3-time cancer survivor, Miss Bonita. The words of wisdom and life stories she shared is something we all need to hear, and the best advice you're ever going to get for any age. Without further ado, let's dive in.
I know that a lot of people think that age is just a number, but how do you feel about being 83?
At 83, a lot of people, but especially women, don't want to accept that age. So they start saying, oh, well, I'm in my late 70s. No, you're not. You're 83. So admit it. You can't roll back those years and accept the fact that you have gotten old. There's a lot of things that you couldn't do, that you could do years ago, that you can't do now. There's a lot of things you forgot, and maybe it's best you forgot it. But accept where you are today and appreciate the fact that you made it this far, that if you drive, you can still drive. You have your teeth, if you have your teeth, or you have implants. You can move and you can take care of yourself. That's the main thing. A lot of people feel that getting old, well, I can't do this and I can't do that. Don't worry about what you can't do, because you probably couldn't do it at 50. That's what you have to accept. You have to accept that you are in the place that you are in now, that you can do what you can do now. But if you sit and you worry about it, and this is wrong, and I can't do this and I can't do that, if you don't try to do it, you won't know whether or not you can do it or you can't do it.
That's so true.
And appreciate what you have.
What's something that you wish you could have done before you got older?
The one thing I always wanted to do, and I had said when I was about 40 years old, I was going to do this at the age of 50. I was going to quit my job because my children would all be grown and out of my hair, and buy a round trip ticket on a freighter and go around the world. And that was the one thing I always said I was going to do. And when I got 50, it was a case of, no, I'd rather take a plane and fly someplace. And yes, I have been, a whole lot of places.
Yes, you have.
On many different continents. And I don't regret it in a way, but I do think about what I would have experienced had I have gone that route.
Mm-hmm. I can't even imagine. Get the call. Where are you? Zanzibar.
This year I had to limit my activities because there aren't enough months in it. My oldest daughter, I'm going to go back up to Oregon with her. But when I get back, I am going to Antola in the British West Indies with Vicki.
The other Vicki.
When I get back from there, I will be home, and only because there's 1, 2, 3, 4 graduations that I need to be here that, they've told me quite a while ago, this is when we're graduating and this is when we expect you to be there. So I'll be there for that. But sometime during the summer, I will be spending, supposedly now, 3 weeks to a month in Cape Town, South Africa. So it's a case of, yeah, I want to do all these things, but I'm going to be tired. And I'm not going to want to see a foreign port at all.
I never thought I'd hear that come out of your mouth, Miss Travel Woman.
I love to travel, but there comes a time when common sense has to kick in. And it's a case of, now I'm not saying that I'm not going to do all these things, and I'm not saying I'm not going to do something later in the year. Again, do everything in moderation.
What's one of the most surprising things you found about getting older?
The most surprising thing I have found is I have learned to ask for help. I never thought I would be not dependent upon someone,
right,
but It doesn't bother me to ask for help.
Mhm. And I think that's a bad word because it's not so much that you're dependent because I know your family, they want to help you
Yeah.
and we wouldn't think that it's a burden to come and do something for you and I think that's where a lot of older people think I don't want to be a burden so I'm not going to ask.
If I need something, like we were talking about my phone,
Mhm.
I don't want to learn everything there is to know about computers. So if I have a question, hey, come here. I need help with this. This is what I
Mhm.
want to do. Can I do it? I used to be able to, oh, I can do this and I can do that. I don't even try. I'm not going to fall off a ladder. I'm not going to pull my back out trying to strain to pick up something.
Mhm.
If it's something that I know I can do without injuring me, I'm going to do it. Otherwise, it will sit there and I'll call or send them a text.
Yep.
When you get a chance, I will be home and I'll give them my time that I'm available. I need you to come by, and this is what I need you to do. I don't drive as much as I used to, and I don't mind turning over those car keys.
Yes.
Now, when we go someplace, when I go outside and they're going to drive, I don't hop in that front. I hop in the back seat. I never got a chance to ride in the back seat. And I like riding in the back seat because I can look out the window. I see things that I haven't seen before.
Overcoming health challenges.
Okay, when I had the first one, I had my mammograms for 25, 30 years. And at 65, when I went in for my mammogram like I normally do, they told me they wanted me to come back. And I said, well, why? I've been coming here for the past 10 years. They said, well, we need you to come back because we need to take another exam. I said, okay, I guess. And again, I said, okay, I'm getting old, maybe, whatever. I came back and I was met with an oncologist, two oncologists, in fact, and a reconstructive surgeon. I said, what? And then they showed me the picture and they told me what I needed was, I guess, what any woman or man would ever want to hear. You need a double mastectomy. And at 65 years old, never having surgery of any kind, to hear something like that. And then they told me what my options would be. And that was go in, they take out a bit, you go through chemo and radiation, and then you go back in. And I said, we're talking 10 years of doing something like that. And he says, well, it may not take that long, but it depends on how you recover. I said, but the bottom line is this is going to be basically, I'm going to wind up at some point in time with the double mastectomy from all these surgeries. And they said, yeah. I said, no, we're going to schedule it right now. I said, I'd rather say goodbye to Agnes and Gertrude right now. I've had them for 65 years, but every road has an end, and it's time for us to part ways. And I could handle it. And because of the type of breast cancer that I had, they said it usually comes back where you need to have a hysterectomy. But they couldn't do it then because everything came out normal in every pap smear. 18 months later, they removed a grapefruit size tumor from my uterus, an orange size from my ovaries, and a lemon sized tumor from my cervix.
They grew that fast.
They grew that fast. And it was like nothing showed up for a year. And then when I went in, because everything was, they said, come back in 6 months, because I was taking an ultrasound every 3 months, but nothing, everything was clean. And when I came back in that 6 months, I could see it. And he said, I said, schedule it. From there, I wound up developing leukemia, which has been in remission for probably the past 7 years. But I still have to take my blood test twice a year.
Being a multiple cancer survivor, what is your key to keep you moving forward after all that adversity?
When I went through the first one, I can remember, oh, well, I can deal with this. And I can remember sitting in my bed and I had the television on, and it was all of a sudden, it was a case of, God, why me? Why do I have to go through this? And I just broke down and I cried
Mm-hmm.
because it was a case of, am I going to live? Am I going to die? What's what? And very loud and very clearly, I heard a voice say, because you are going to have to take others through this.
Like I said, always, ever since I met you in 2000, the most positive and inspirational person I think I've ever met.
With this, it was a case of, okay, it's there. Let's get rid of it. It's like if you've got a bunch of trash and dirt that you're taking, or say you're sweeping your house,
Mhm.
and you put all the trash in a trash bag. On your way out, the bag breaks and you got trash everywhere. You gonna leave it there,
Mhm.
or you gonna sweep it up and put it in the trash and comb and do what you got to do?
Yep.
It's the way I have to look at it.
You mentioned that, good thing we found it early. And so would that be your advice to people? Just because last year it came back positive, don't skip.
Oh, yes, I have a lot to say to you seniors about your health. First off, go to the doctor. Make sure that they listen to your heart, listen to your lungs. Let them give you a blood test if that's what they want to do. Don't fight them, because you might find something out that you didn't know you had.
Mm-hmm.
Go to a dentist and get your teeth cleaned.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of seniors feel, well, hell, I'm old, I don't need that. Yes, you do. Get your eyes checked, not so much by an optometrist, but go to an ophthalmologist.
Yes, big difference.
At least once a year. I'm dealing now with, and have dealt with, glaucoma and side effects, a very rare side effect from some medicine. But it's a case of, okay, if I hadn't stayed on top of these things, I could be blind, I could be toothless, and I don't think I'd look good toothless. And no, I can't afford, I'm not going to afford $40,000 for full mouth dentures. And another thing, when they tell you on these commercials that you go in the morning and you can come out that evening and you've got a mouthful of teeth. You may have a mouthful of teeth. I hope they're in a paper bag and not in your mouth, because the post that they have to put in should be in there at least 3 months before they put a tooth on it, because your body could reject it.
Oh, good to know.
So between 3 and 6 months, you might walk around with a post on there, and where they put in an artificial tooth.
Mm-hmm.
But before they put on that final tooth, make sure that your body has not rejected. You have a full mouth x-ray and there's no infection or anything else,
Mm-hmm.
because you will have wasted a lot of money. They're not going to say, oops, oh, well, we should have checked that. Well, now that'll be another $60,000 because we have to do this, this, and this, because they're going to have to take all of that out. So be very leery about something like that.
And I think that that's, goes for saying for even not seniors, but anyone, make sure you really take good care of your dental health, because my aunt was a nurse and she said a lot of times people would come in for infections. They actually started in their mouth.
Mouth, right. Most infections do start in your mouth.
I donated my body to science.
I did something a month ago. My family was totally appalled, to the point where my son had tears in his eyes. He was so upset about it. I donated my body to science. And they wanted to know, why would you do something like that? Are you sick? Are you dying? No, I'm in perfect health. I don't want to fertilize 6 feet. I don't want to pay for real estate that you can't put a swimming pool on. But physically, the challenges that I have had and the medical issues, because even my doctors are surprised that the only pills I take are in the morning are a low dose aspirin. I take something to keep for my blood pressure and something that's to prevent heart attacks. And at night, I'm hypoglycemic and have been for years. And I take a pill at night for that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 4 pills a day. And they say, well, at your age, you should be taking like 50, 60 pills.
So you retired twice over your lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
What led you to retire the first time, and how was the second time different?
The first time, I had not planned on retiring. And they did a reorg. And it was a case of, she's making too much money. Let's put her in a situation that she'll fail at. And then we can give her a bad review and get rid of her that way.
Got it.
Well, I had an aunt whose favorite saying was, man proposes and God disposes. Well, every situation that they can't put me in, I excelled at.
Mm-hmm.
So no one could say, well, this didn't this happened and this happened and this happened. Couldn't say that. They put me as a project manager with a woman who said, I guess it was a case of, that was her challenge. That was her big thing. I'm going to get rid of you. I worked for 46 days straight, 12 hours a day, this includes weekends. And I would hear, oh, I meant to send you an email. I didn't need that after I'd worked all weekend. I was physically exhausted. And I said, I need a week off. This was in the beginning of September, because I even wound up having to work and get something for her over Labor Day weekend. Now, I had over 200 hours of vacation time. She says, oh, no, you can't take off any time until July. Now, this is beginning of September. July is past, so she was talking about the following July.
Wow.
But she had planned this vacation for them, 2 weeks in the south of France. And when I heard that, it was a case of, that's your Achilles heel. You may see France, but it's either going to be in a picture or you're looking at a map. I'm going to bring this to a screeching halt. Friday came, and it would be 2 weeks before she was to leave. And I said, I'm going to do the right thing. She was back in Connecticut, the joys of working remotely. I'm in California. At 5:00, I sent her an email saying, please accept my resignation effective the Friday before she was supposed to leave on vacation. And she was to leave Saturday morning. Well, Monday morning at the staff meeting, and at the end of the meeting, she said, oh, Bonita, will you stay on the phone? I said, I'd be glad to. She says, I got the strangest email from you. And I said, what email? It says something about, please accept my resignation. And you gave a date. Now, I'm leaving the next day. I said, and you are going to have a wonderful time. I said, I'm leaving that day too. Well, you have to stay here because it's my vacation. I said, no, I don't. I've given you my resignation date, and that's when I'm leaving. My leaving should have nothing to do with your vacation. They're two entirely different things. I said, but that's my resignation date, and you have it, and I have a copy of the email. So you can tear it up, burn it up, or eat it up. I don't give a and hung up the phone.
And then the second retirement.
The second retirement, I just got tired of working.
Mm-hmm.
And my routine at that time was I would take my granddaughter to the bus stop for school so she could catch a school bus, come home, walk into my breakfast room, turn on my laptop, put on a pot of coffee, sit down, and get started. And I walked in the house and I got halfway in my dining room and I said, I don't want to do this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's time to go home. The time I have left, I want to have left. And I was 74 years old. And I didn't even log on. And my manager, who I loved and was one of the greatest people in the world, called. He said, "Are you okay? Because you haven't logged in or anything." I said, "I'm okay." I said, "I was going to log." I said, "I had some other stuff came in. I'm really sorry, but we'll talk later."
Mm-hmm.
And the next day, I called him early in the morning because he was back east too. And I said, "I can't do this anymore."
Mm-hmm.
And his first comment was, "Well, what do you want?" I said, "I want the rest of my time to be my time." And I said, "But I'll give you 3 weeks if you need it,
Mm-hmm.
until we get everything turned over and straightened out." I said, "I would never leave you in a lurch. I will take care of everything that needs to be taken care of. I'll make sure everything is in place, and then I'm going." And that's when I left. But I knew it was time to go.
Do you regret that you didn't call it quits sooner?
No. I learned a lot in both cases. I think I learned more about dealing with people before I retired the first time. Because, again, I knew if you blow up and you just lose control, people know where you're coming from. But if you stay very calm, and they think they've won, and that landmine that they have built for you blows up in their face, find that Achilles heel, but find it quietly, because you don't ever want somebody to know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You will accomplish more by letting them know they had a plan, but your plan was better. And once you do that, you have not only leveled that playing field, you are above them in that playing field.
Mm-hmm. What's the one thing you would tell 20 and 30 somethings about aging?
Do everything now in moderation. I'm not saying you can't drink, not to smoke, not to go out, not to have numerous sex partners, not to do drugs. But if you drink, know your limit.
Yes.
Know when to stop drinking. Smoking cigarettes isn't good for you because it hurts your lungs. I never smoked, so I can't say anything, but that's the one cancer I haven't had. I limited my sexual activities and made sure that everybody had protection. Make sure you eat properly. Don't rely on junk food. Get in that kitchen, pull out a pot, a pan, eat your fresh vegetables. You can have fried food, but again, do it in moderation.
And of course, Miss Bonita has way too much wisdom to only give you one piece of advice. So here's the rest.
Listen to what someone says. Hearing something and listening to it are two different things.
Yes, they are.
First off, consider the source that it's coming from. Secondly, when somebody wants you to do something for them, ask yourself, is this going to benefit me in any way? Or is it just going to benefit them? I love you. I wish the best for you, but I don't want to be your nurse or your purse.
I need that on a shirt.
Right. That's it. I'm neither your nurse or your purse.
You got to know who's for you.
Right. And everyone who you party with is not your friend.
That is very
When there is a serious situation in your life, be it sickness, health, going to jail, whatever, people who will stand by you are those people that you can consider friends. Those people that you don't hear from because you don't have money to go party, you can't go on this trip with them, etc., etc., etc. Those aren't your friends.
That is so true. I've lived that.
I think we all have. I have told people, hey, they aren't your friend. That's not your friend. And they didn't, oh, well, we party. I said, yes, you party. But life is more than a party.
Yes.
Don't depend upon somebody else to take care of you. Even if you are married, have your own checking account, have your own money. No one has to know about it but you. But if something happens, you will be able to survive. And today's economy, and with what's going on in the world today, you've got to, yes, you're worried about your partner, your children, your grandchildren, but you got to come first. It's like when you get on a plane, they tell you, hook your seatbelt first,
Yes.
then you take care of the kids. Hook that financial seatbelt first. But look at your financial picture. You don't know how long you're going to live. It's a family joke. But I always said, okay, I'll slow down at 96. I was talking to my daughter last night, and we were talking about age. And she says, oh, hell, you'll pass 100. I might. But I have put myself in a financial position. I've never been an extravagant person. But I've never been one to deny myself anything either. Say I do live to 96, 100. I'll be able to take care of me. I love my children. I love my grandchildren. But what I have left and what I have set aside for me is going to be used on me. And remember, you have the ability to change what you do by your actions when you're young as to what your future will be. When you get a certain age, you can't go back and make any changes. Those days are gone. And with today's climate, yeah, there's a lot of rude people out there. But there are also a lot of very good people out there.
Yes, there are.
Like I have to remind my kids, you're not surrounded by it 24/7. What happened good today?
Yes.
And trust me, everything you dish out, you're going to get back. If it's good, you're going to get back good. If you do something bad, you're going to get it back. But likewise, the same person who does something bad is going to get it back. I'm not a Bible thumping individual by any wild stretch of the imagination. But I have learned as I have gotten older, things that don't affect me directly, I just have to put in God's hands and let him handle it. Because he can close a door that can never be opened, but he can open a door that can never be closed. Be careful what you ask for, because you're going to get it. So if you pray, be specific. Don't just say, God, I want a car, because he may give you one of them zonk cars off Let's Make a Deal. It's a car. Or a Hot Wheel car. It's a car. Be specific. You want a car with 4 wheels, a motor, you can sit down, you can ride, that won't stop on you, that you can have for the next X amount of years, that you can put gas in, you can afford the insurance papers on it. Be specific. Even when you're talking to someone and you want something done, be specific. If you just say, well, hey, I want the house painted, you may come home and find a purple house with orange trim. You didn't say what color you wanted. You didn't say how you wanted it. They may paint over the glass. So always, no matter what it is, if you ask for something, always be specific. There is something I would like to say to all grandparents. I wrote a letter to each one of my grandchildren explaining my thoughts of life and giving them a perspective that I didn't think they would ever have. And I sent it to them when they were 18. Length doesn't matter, it can be very short. But I tried to cover every aspect of life that they will encounter. And I was laughing. My oldest granddaughter, she says, I told so and so, lace your words with chocolate because you will have to eat them. And I said, oh my God. She says, Grandma, that's in my letter. And she says, I look at my letter all the time. And I have a copy of them. But I just explained to them things that a 19-year-old doesn't really think about and don't really see. Some of you can remember, I can kind of remember, but I remember when I was 18, 19, 20, I was having fun. And that's what I wanted to do because I was almost grown. Once I turned 21 and I was grown, life was entirely different.
Over your lifetime, you've seen a lot.
Oh, yes.
How have your values and your priorities changed over time?
I think my value system is pretty much the same. And that being said, I want respect. I treat people with respect. I don't try to scam or cheat anyone. Likewise, don't try it on me. I didn't do it to you. When I was young, my priorities were me and having a good time. When I grew up, I thought, okay, I'm going to have the white picket fence and the dog and the 3 children and the Betty Crocker, meal sitting on the table. Well, it didn't turn out like that at all. I wound up with a house that I couldn't keep. I wound up with 3 children that I did keep. But all of a sudden, it was a case of, I had 3 children. What am I going to do? I hadn't worked. When my youngest one was born, I wasn't working. All of a sudden, it's a case of, here I am. He's off gallivanting with someone and having a good time. Now, I could sit back and get upset and mad, but I got these kids I got to take care of. I remember my mother saying to me, they will grow up. And the one thing you want to have is memories. She was talking about, I was adopted. And she made a statement one time about my biological mother. And she said, I really feel sorry for Catherine because she has no memories. And I said, what are you talking about? She says, you won't understand it, but remember what I said, because you have to have memories. And now I have the memories, but now my priority is me. And it's a case of, it's okay for you to be your priority. I've given everything there is to give. I've been a sounding board, a financier, a support system, a banker. But I made sure when they needed to be my priority, they were my priority. And now I'd have to say, probably about the past 10 years, I have been my sole priority. And I love it. I don't feel selfish. So don't feel selfish if you become your priority.
One of the things that I've always admired about you is no matter what we're going through at work or in our lives, you remain the most positive person I'd ever met. What is your secret to positivity?
If you're not positive about something and there's nothing but negativity around you, it's going to give you lines. And I don't like lines. But if you have absolutely no control over a situation, it's not that you can't worry about it, and it's not that it doesn't bother you. Harping on it, griping on it, being mad about a situation, unless you can change it for the good situation, then you're going to have to live with it until it ends. And a lot of things, if you stop and look at them, they're happening around you. They're not really happening to you. You might be affected by them. And if it's around me and there's nothing I can do about it, it's going to have to stay around me because I've put that barrier there. Mm-hmm. If it's happening to me, now that's a whole different story.
One of the best pieces of advice I ever got was, I shouldn't say what best, two. One was my grandfather. Mm-hmm. Don't charge on your credit card unless you can pay the bill at the end of the day. So everything needs to be basic cash and carry. Mm-hmm. And two was a lady at my very first job with benefits said, start your 401k. I'm not going to let you put in anything less than the minimum to max out the company match. Mm-hmm. And I know, you worked a long time and you took advantage of a lot of stuff. What other advice would you give people about saving and investing for retirement?
First off, look at two things. The first time I had even thought about retiring, a friend of mine told me, make a budget. Because I'd always made really good money, never had to really worry about a budget. Mm-hmm. When my kids were growing up, I made good money. Mm-hmm. And yes, I had to budget because of them and school and tuitions and all that. But once they were grown, it was a case of, oh, this money's all mine. I could have saved more, but it didn't. But I always took out the max for my 401k. Mm-hmm. If there's a max on your 401k that you can put in, put it in. But that budget, if you start off and you make yourself a budget, live on that budget for 6 months. Don't go over it, don't go under it, but allow yourself how much it's going to take for you to live comfortably in retirement. But remember, when you quit work, everything is going out, nothing is coming in. So make sure that what you want to do in your retirement, you can afford to do, and not just the basics. If you're used to taking a vacation every year, budget that into your expenses. Mm-hmm. If you like to go out and get a pedicure and a manicure and a massage every month, put that in that budget because those are the things you're going to want to do.
So a lot of people, even when I retired and everyone was like, what are you retiring? What are you going to do? You're going to be bored. And I am not bored at all. Mm-hmm. But what advice would you give people getting ready for retirement on how not to stay bored?
Great question. Do not sit down and watch television all day. You've got to get out. You've got to exercise. You've got to move. I take my aqua aerobics class 3 days a week. Sure, I'd love to sleep in, every day. But Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, that alarm clock is set for 7:30. I get up. I put on that bathing suit, put on a pair of sweats over it, and head down to LA Fitness. But if you have a hobby and you want to try something, say you want to take a cooking class, go take that cooking class. Mm-hmm. You might decide, hey, I don't want to run a restaurant, but I want to work in a restaurant where this is what they do, and I can contribute something. But make sure you have something that you want to do and you want to try.
You have a lot of hobbies.
Yes, I do.
And one of your hobbies actually benefited my family tremendously with your doll making. And, I love my Christmas angel that you made for me. My mom loved hers, and I still have my mom's as well. So I have both of them that I put out every single year to remind me not only of my biological mother, but you as my other mother. So it serves double duty for me.
I just did this past Christmas. My granddaughter's mother-in-law runs a not-for-profit charity. Mm-hmm. And they have a big Christmas party for the families that are in this charity. And this year, this past Christmas, it was angels. Mm-hmm. And I did an angel for her. And I said, you can use it on one of the trees, you can use it as a centerpiece, whatever. But when you said angels, I had to make you an angel. So I'm still doing those. I'm going to do my first porcelain doll because I used to make black antique reproductions of porcelain dolls. And I'm going to do one for my 2-year-old niece. I've always wanted to do a black ballerina. And I am going to do, once the weather gets hot, the reason why it has to get hot is because I do all the pouring. I've got the molds, everything. I'm going to do a black ballerina for her. So
I bet that's going to be beautiful. I'm looking forward to seeing it.
And right now, I'm working on some Christmas quilts.
I didn't know you were a quilter.
I'm not. I decided I was going to learn how to quilt. Started knitting and nothing fancy, just plain knit. But I've made 4 blankets.
Wow.
So they take time. And like in the evenings, I do sit down and watch television. There's certain programs that I like, but they're on in the evening.
We got to have our shows.
Right, got to. I'll watch them and I'll knit, which is very good as you get older because they said if you're using your eyes and your hands, that coordination is excellent for you. So either I'm sewing something or I'm knitting in the evenings.
Yeah, Mill has bad arthritis, and so with her dementia, to keep that hand-eye brain coordination, we've been doing a lot of puzzles.
Yeah.
And but bigger pieces because of our arthritis.
Yeah. So far I can still move them. So I was never a walker, so I didn't do a whole lot of walking. I hated going to a gym. But I like doing aqua aerobics. Yeah. I do my aqua aerobics 3 days a week. That is my exercise that keeps me moving. I like the water because you have that buoyancy. You just have that support of the water. And no, when I get tired, I slow up. But if I look around, I see everybody else is slowed up. I'm in a seniors class. I don't know how old the others are and don't really care. You are what you are. I am 2 sizes larger than I was when I graduated from the 8th grade.
Wow.
I was a woman's 12 when I graduated, and now I'm a 14, 16. So I figured that's not that bad.
Yeah,
So
it's funny because when I tell people, I go, I actually need to take a nap after I'm done following her around the mall.
That's the one time I will walk. That's the one time I will walk. I don't know. There's something very therapeutic about shopping. And you can do window shopping. You say, well, I don't have any money to go shopping. You don't have to buy something. Go look and see what's out there. See what's new. If you want to try it on, try it on. There's no charge to try on clothes. Right? There's no charge to go look at something. And, a lot of people they feel bad. Well, I can't afford this. Maybe today you can't, but maybe it's something you'll work towards or you'll save towards. Or if one of your kids decides, hey, what do you want for birthday or for Christmas? If it's that expensive, say, all 3 of you can get together and buy me that. But this way you'll know instead of saying, oh, well, I don't need anything. I always need something. Have a social life. Make sure you have someone that you go to lunch with once a week, or you go to breakfast with once a week, or you do something with.
I totally get it. My mother-in-law will not go to the senior center because she goes, I don't want to be around old people. It's like, well, how old are you?
Right. Do you really want to be around a bunch of 20-year-olds? Do you really want to be around a bunch of 50-year-olds? Seriously. That's the age that probably your children are. Do you really want to be around them and their friends? Yes, I have friends all ages, but I enjoy me.
Mhm.
And I enjoy doing what I want to do. If they don't want to do it and they want to do something else, if I try it and I like it, hey,
Mhm.
I'll continue. If I don't like it, I won't continue.
Mhm.
Don't count on your kids to be there for you. Because remember, they have their life, they have their families, and they have what they want to do.
Mhm.
And it's not that you're not a priority, but you're not. And you shouldn't feel that entitled to be that priority. Hold on to your children, but remember, even the pillars of a temple stand apart.
That is very true.
I got a million sayings. That's what I'm always saying.
I have a feeling I'm going to be incorporating some new sayings into my life because
Good.
I find myself saying a lot of things that my parents, my grandparents say. I'm like, I didn't even know that I had like stuck them
Mm-hmm.
away. You are what I want to say. You are everything I want to be when I grow up. And I have said that ever since I started working with you. The way you carried yourself at work, I wanted to be you and how you commanded the room and how everybody just respected Miss Bonita and everybody told me, don't go up against her. You don't want to go up against her. But that just showed me all the respect and admiration that you carried. And then when our work life turned into a personal life, it was like, okay, now she's everything I want to be at home too. Now she's
When I
everything.
first met Vicki, she was working on a project and there were certain steps that you had to go through. And people were telling her, "Oh, did you talk to Bonita about this?" So she came over and said, "I'd like to make an appointment." She said, "I need to know the process of what I have to do." I said, "Fine. Bring a pencil and a piece of paper so you can take notes." I said, "I will answer 100 questions for you, but I will not answer the same question for you 100 times. You refer to your notes." When we got through, she said, "But you were so nice to me." I said, "You weren't born with this knowledge. I wasn't born with this knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
but it's my job to give you this knowledge."
Mm-hmm.
Not to make you feel bad, not to intimidate you. But she was just so sweet and so I just loved her spirit and the person that she was. And she wasn't phony, she wasn't trying to cut corners. Well, can I do this? Because I had enough of those. But it was a case of here's just a genuine person who wants to do a good job. And I'm going to make sure she can. And I told her, I said, and if you have any questions or something that you didn't really understand, because we covered a whole lot, I said, come back. I'll be glad to help you. I said, and bring what you're working on, and I'll show you what to do.
Yeah, I think that was for me the eye opener being in corporate America. You didn't get a lot of people who wanted to help you succeed. There were a lot of people that wanted to stab you in the back.
Oh,
There are a lot
yes.
of people that wanted to take credit for the work that you did. And so when everybody told me, yeah, but he's never going to approve this. Yeah, don't even go over there. She's just gonna yell at you. And when I went over there and you didn't, and you sat me down and you answered all of my questions, and you were basically my biggest cheerleader from that point on, that was an eye opener for me that corporate America doesn't have to be the
That
way
way.
that I was experiencing it. It can be a supportive environment and help people grow. And I do believe, like I said, I haven't had a lot of bosses, and even though you weren't my boss,
Mm-hmm.
there you were one of the people that I tried to model my leadership style after because I never wanted my staff to think of me the way people try to make me think of you. And
Right.
when I met you and I saw that you were the complete opposite.
I'm glad they did think of me that way. I developed that attitude or that demeanor or that reputation because they knew what they could not do. Life should not be a series of challenges. I refuse to accept bad actions, nasty people, disrespectful people. It's just something I wouldn't do, so I'm not going to take it. I try to treat everyone with respect.
We're in some very, very crazy times in this
Mhm.
world right now. Is there something that you think that we've lost over the years that we need to try to reclaim as a society?
I think the sense of respect, I don't care what age you are, I think the sense of respect has been lost in so many. The I'm only out for me. I know the term is make America great again. I don't think America was ever great. It was the best that was out there, but it was never great. And I can remember in the 5th grade getting in all kinds of trouble because then they were talking about putting Indians on reservations and, well, that would be like me going to a mansion in Beverly Hills and saying, you got to leave because I'm here now and this is mine. It was their land and you stole their land. Then to fill their land, you kidnapped people and brought them to the United States or America to be your slaves and treated them worse or as bad as you did those Indians. And now you want to, oh, we did that. We don't want to think about that. We can't think about that. So we can't teach that anymore. I think the sense of wanting to forget history, like when they tore down all those statues in the South, that was the worst thing they could have done. And the reason why is if there's no proof of it, if it's not there, they can say it never happened. I think the sense of truthfulness has gone out of this country.
Mm-hmm.
You got someone who's, quote, the head of the country, who's probably the biggest liar God ever blew breath into, and you accept that. Everyone has a right to their own opinion. I think everyone, whether I disagree with you or agree with you on your political stance, you have that right to your opinion, and I feel you have that right. But when you start taking away that right because it disagrees with you, there's something radically wrong with that. I don't have to think like you. I can like you as a person, and you may think what's going on is, well, it'll straighten itself out. It's like a rocky ship, there's waves, but, it's going to flatten itself out. Sometimes it does, and sometimes you all drown. So I think the sense of truthfulness is gone. Mm-hmm. The sense of respect is gone. Will it come back? Some people never lost it. So those that didn't lose it will keep it. Those who have lost it, unless something earth-shattering happens to them personally, they won't change. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying I'm wishing something earth-shattering because I might be standing behind them when it happens. If you've done wrong, I don't wish, I'm not a person who says, I wish this on you or that on you or, all I want is, I want you to get back no more and no less than what you dished out. You don't need more, and you damn sure don't need less. But you do need to feel the way you've made others feel by your actions.
Because some people don't understand the consequences of actions until they feel them.
My mother told me years ago, we were going someplace, and there were a lot of, I can say it now, old people sitting outside of a rest home. And I said, gee, I wonder, and I must have been maybe 10 or 11 years old. And I said, I feel so sorry for them because they're sitting out there and no one is talking to them and they're not talking to each other. And she said, don't feel sorry for them. And I said, why? She said, the time you give to your children and your grandchildren when they are young is the time you are going to get back. And I never really thought about it until maybe I turned 60. And then I could see I'm getting calls every day from both girls. I get a call once a week from my son, just checking with you, Mom, making sure everything's okay. You need anything? Okay, well, I got to go now. But the time that I gave them is the time that I am getting back. Mm-hmm. Same with my grandchildren. I had an episode where I wound up having to call my daughter and ask her to take me to emergency. And my granddaughter was home at the time. She said, I'm going to call. I'll cancel my track practice. I'm taking her. And she came. I was so surprised to see her. And I said, well, just drop me off here and I can take a taxi or something. She says, no, I'm going to stay here until I find out that you are okay.
Exactly.
And I said, but you have things to do. She said, this is all I have to do today. And then it struck me, now I know what she meant. And it's a case of all I could say was, I'm sorry you're missing track practice, but thank you so much for thinking of me. If you don't spend a lot of time with them, call them. Hey, send them a text. Hey, just had you on my mind, thinking about you. And institute, and this is something that we started a while back. We have a family dinner.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be once a month, but now with everybody's schedules, it may fall during the week. 2 months may go by, but even with Haley getting married, now her family is there, and we're all together.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you have to put out the fact that, hey, I'd like to see you all. Let's do something. If there's a movie you want to go to, hey, I want to go to a movie. Will you take me or can I take you?
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing? And schedule. Make sure you have a schedule. I guess I was a project manager too long.
Yes.
Because,
see, I'm not the only one.
Because I keep a calendar. And it's a case of they will call me and ask me something, or I will call them. Check your calendar. And I always put it like a month in advance so that what do you have to do? Now, if it has to change, it has to change because life goes on and things pop up. But if you're here, you're in town, and we can all get together, let's do it.
Thank you for putting me on your calendar.
Yes. Yeah. Of course, you're always on my calendar.
Well, I want to thank you for letting me have this conversation being recorded because, over the decades, we've had a lot of private conversations.
Yes.
And I really think that the way that this world is right now, people need information that is true and real and coming from other people who have lived it. And I really appreciate you helping people see it. I mean, survivor for multiple cancers, and you look like this. 83, and you look like this. You are my aging goals. I have one last question for you.
Yes.
What's the best thing about being 83?
A sense of total peace. I am at total peace with my life, with my health. I'm a happy person. I try to find something to laugh at once a day, and all I got to do is turn on the news, and that'll give you something to laugh at. I don't feel intimidated about what's going on. I don't really have time to worry about what's going on. And I don't feel selfish because I can truly say it didn't affect me. I am a very thankful person in my 83 years, more thankful than I think I ever have been, because I can wake up in the morning, I can get out of the bed. I don't wake up 2 and 3 times at night. As a matter of fact, I don't wake up in the middle of the night, so I'm not running to the bathroom in the middle of the night. I can open my refrigerator and take out anything I want. I can make coffee, the type of coffee that I want. I got eggs. I can eat anything. I still have my teeth. Yeah, I got a problem with my eyes, but you don't have a problem with something. I can drive. I have a driver's license. I can walk. I can talk. I don't use a cane, but I do have a cane, and I have a knee brace. So if my knee starts bothering me, I don't care who sees me walking with the cane, or they can see the brace under my pants. Things don't bother me because I don't let them bother me. There's too much around me to enjoy, to worry about, oh my God, what if they do this? What if they do that? What if they do? But what if they don't? Look at what you've missed.
Yep. Can't spend your life worrying about the what ifs.
No. Because the what ifs usually don't happen to the extreme that you think they're going to happen. And if they do, hell, you might not be around to worry about it anymore. So, and no, I didn't have an easy life. But when I look back on it, I wouldn't change a thing. I would not change a thing in my life.
And I'm glad you wouldn't, because if you would change anything, I might not be here.
That's right. I would not know this woman. I would not have my children. I would not have my grandchildren. And I can truly say, if you have Vicki as a friend, you got a good friend.
And I couldn't ask for a better person to come in and help me after I lost my real mom. So thank you so much.
You are more than, I'm always going to be there for you.
You know I love you. I love you more.